Hod and Dave have huge issues that they deal with every day, making sure that this company stays solvent and that we all have jobs. I'm not as far away from customer service as maybe Dave and Hod are. They're years and years out, and they're dealing with things that I don't have to deal with every day. I deal with more of the basic issues of customer service, trust, relationship building, and then problems that go on with a daily job. So basically what I want to do is kind of summarize the last little bit and kind of add some more basic stories to what customer service is and how it affects our position in the sales and our competition. Tammy asked me to touch on a couple of things, and we talked about terms and conditions on our quotes and why we do that. And if we send out a quote, even a type or handwritten quote, why we need to include our terms and conditions. Part of it is, to me, it's called professionalism. As a salesman, you can go out and make promises every day. You need to grow as a professional too. Customers don't always want to hear or need to hear, yes, we'll do that, yes, I'll deliver that tomorrow. And the only reason that you could possibly make that happen is if every planet and everything lined up in the horoscopes and the universe to make that happen. We need a transfer from Olympia to Ackerman, and Ackerman needs to take it to Pacific, and Carrie's going to pick it up at Pacific and hand it off to a salesman who's cruising north, and then I'll get it at 10 o'clock, and then I'll get it out to the customer, and the chances of that happening are minimal. And all you're doing is screwing up your reputation, your trust level, and all I'm trying to say is the old CYA, cover your rear end by managing expectations of the customer. Do what you possibly can do. Give yourself an extra day. Don't tell them what you think you can do. Tell them what you can do. And then when you do that, if they accept that, you have to deliver. And that's how you build trust. I have many customers, and one of the stories I would talk about is Northwest Cascade. Northwest Cascade is a contractor in Puyallup who I inherited from my mentor when I started in sales, which was Terry Blattman. And the way I got customers, I got all the people that Terry couldn't deal with. And Northwest Cascade at the time, I didn't know anything about him, was a small contractor as far as I was concerned who lived down in Puyallup. They're the people who own Honey Buckets. Now they're the largest portable toilet supplier in the world now. I think they're in 13 states or something. Did the Olympics last year in Salt Lake City. They have a division that does construction. They have a division that does pumps. Tim Snyder sells them over $250,000 worth of pumps and appurtenances every year. They also do about $750,000 in utilities. Mark Perry is a guy who owns the company. Real simple guy. If you met him, if you walked in here, you wouldn't know he was a business owner. He's a jeans guy, tennis shoes, real simple guy. One day he calls up here. He's got a job at Bangor over on the peninsula, if you know where Bremerton is, where the sub base is. And he needs a fire hydrant. He needs a 5'6" MJ base fire hydrant with this pumper nozzle. Bellevue had one. He's going to catch a ferry late in the afternoon, deliver it so they can finish up a portion of this project. This has happened before I even got out of the warehouse. He calls, they say, yeah, we've got it. He says, have it ready for me so when I get there, I can pick it up and leave. Whoever the customer service person at that time didn't know Mark Perry he could have been a foreman, he could have been a superintendent, could have been a laborer, he didn't know. Mark Perry shows up, the hydrant's not pulled, the pumper nozzle's not changed. By the time we get that ready, get him loaded up, he had fought traffic in and out of Bellevue, crossed the bridge, missed his ferry, everything went to crap. 2-3 years later, I show up to make my first sales call on him, and he's sitting in an open office. If anybody's ever been in Northwest Cascade, they have an open concept where you can see everybody working in there. And I could see him. He's not any further than from me to Ryan, and a receptionist is blocking my entry. Can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'm Brian Nelson with Fowler's. I'm here to see Mark Perry. Just a second, she picks up the phone. Mark, Brian Nelson's from Fowler's here. Would you see him? He looks up at me and he looks at her and he says, tell him I'm busy. I could hear him. He could have just told me. Took me a year from that point to ever get in to get a meeting with him to finally get business started. And I think for the last 18 years, they've done about $1 million to $1.5 million a year with us. Not because of what I did, what we did as a company. I've had a lot of help. But the point is the damage that was done by that one promise and failure to deliver cost us at least 5 or 6 years of their business, which equates to about $5 or $6 million in business. Another story I have is one that I inherited, and I did it to myself because I had assumed Ryan's current position in Bellevue customer service as a sort of commander-in-chief of customer service. Didn't come with any additional funds, but it kind of was a title. I kind of made sure everybody got what they needed to do and kind of made sure things were going well. And someone took a phone call from the city of Bainbridge Island. At the time, we didn't have salesmen working the peninsula. At that time, we didn't have anybody, we didn't have any branches over there. So where's Bainbridge Island? I mean, it's got to be a million miles away. It included a ferry ride. And the guy had a couple issues with some old M&H and old dresser fire hydrants, and he wanted to know if we could send someone over to kind of help them go through these things and get the parts and get those hydrants fixed. Well, being the experienced 2-year out of the warehouse guy that I was and feeling pretty confident about my abilities, I took the phone call and told him absolutely we could, and we'll charge you from the minute we leave Bellevue, truck time at $25 an hour for our service tech and our truck, and we're going to charge you for the ferry, and we're going to charge you for the parts and the service when he's over, then we'll charge you until he gets back to Bellevue. I thought that sounded pretty good. I was going to really score some brownie points about all the money we were going to make on this deal. And the guy said, well, thanks, but I'll call you back, and no one ever heard back from him. Well, about 2 years later, I'm now a salesman, and I inherit the peninsula, and I go in to make a sales call. And the same guy, I had forgotten about it, sits me down very politely with a cup of coffee and tells me the story about how Fowler's had bent him over and done this to him, and they have now written out all M&H products in their system. They don't buy our service brass, they don't buy our water meters, they don't buy anything comes from H.D. Fowler. This is about the time we're in the process of opening the Bremerton branch. Growth was pretty heavy on the peninsula, and Bainbridge Island is very close to a lot of the connecting water districts, and the word had gotten out. And so it took me about 3 or 4 years for me to overcome the mistake that I had made. Now, if I had probably told him, I said, you know, there's going to be some costs associated with it, and I wrote down here somewhere, sometimes it's not how you say it, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if I had gone at him with a less abrasive or a less aggressive stance, maybe we would have been better off, and maybe I wouldn't have had to charge him, or maybe we could have added the ferry time and our service guys' time into the parts when we got the order, a number of things. Maybe I should have called Dave Kirker and asked him what to do. Those are things that I'm just telling you that as a direct relationship, you guys can affect future business, current business, or past business very quickly with the way we respond. When I put down the professionalism, you read that article about trust, and it'll explain. The gentleman who wrote that, it reflects exactly how I feel about customer service and what's important. Many times our contractors believe that offense is the best defense. They'll come at you hard, telling you, you need to, you have to, I need this now, and I want all of it, and I don't. And when you stand back, you realize that if you agree to what he's demanding, your chances of success are very minimal. But when somebody comes at you hard like that, I'm not going to sign that, son. I'll never sign it. You send me another one, or you send me another page of terms and condition again with a quote. I'll never deal with you guys again. Many times it takes a Dave Kirker, somebody with his, well, you guys got to listen to him for almost an hour. I mean, you know, Dave's pretty even keel. You know, he calms you down when he talks to you. He has the ability to analyze a conversation very well. You can learn a lot from listening to how Dave deals and diffuses situations like that. But where I'm going with that is a lot of times you guys are going to get POs and you're going to get demands over the phone. And how you diffuse that situation or manage that customer's expectation will determine how we do future business. I have several salespeople who are in the habit of promising anything. Okay, I'll get you 25 coats if you just put that back charge away. Or, yeah, just back charge us, I'll just pass it on to the factory. Well, every time we do that, it undermines our position with our vendors. A lot of times, the contractor's at fault. How many times have we gone out to fix fire hydrants where we found MJ rubbers or Titan joint rubbers buried in the hydrant or buckets full of gravel? But, you know, I've got salespeople who say, oh, don't worry about it, we'll pay for that. You know, well, that's not true. Sometimes a contractor will respect you more if you share in some of those things and just explain to them, hey, we'll fix it, but if there is not evidence that it's a manufacturer defect, you're going to have to pay for our time. And as you go, sometimes they become more careful than when they call us to come out and do a service call or when they ask us to do other things. So you have to learn to develop a level of professionalism. Now, I also don't want you to take that offense is the best defense position with them. Sometimes you have to take and show a little concern and care for what they're going through, trying to make a living also. They're bidding against 10 other contractors. They're digging ditches. They're in sometimes absolutely horrendous working conditions. And then we send out the wrong MJ bolts, or the wrong gland, or the wrong nozzles for a sprinkler head, or the wrong PVC adapter or check valve for a pump. And they've got to deal with that, and it costs them direct costs and money as they try to fix those things. And so basically, I want you to be understanding to those things. I want you to be professional. Don't promise things you can't do, and then just follow through. And if you do that, tell them what you can do, and then do it, your position in this industry and in our company will continue to grow. You guys have all been promoted from wherever you were. And one of the nice things about this company that almost 85 or 90% of our salespeople in all branches have started in the warehouse at some point, including myself. I have had to in recent times go out and hire people outside the industry. I know that's not what we always like to do, and in certain cases we have to, but the majority of our people here have been bred within. We've grown them ourselves. It's our farm system. And where I'm going with that is that when you move into customer service, it could be the best job you've ever had in your life. It's one of my favorite jobs that I've ever done in this, in my short career, 21 years. I love to go down to customer service. Anybody who works here in Bellevue or in Pacific or any of the branches, it seems, finds me hanging out down there in the morning because it gives me a chance to touch base with contractors and say hello. And I love to yak with the guys and find out what's going on. But when you have that position, it's required that you continue to learn. Even now, I go back and I look at things that I do every day, and there's things that I learn every day. Product issues, vendor issues, how to deal with people, how to diffuse, POs, how to talk to a contractor. Now, I know through mistakes that I've made exactly what's going on. When you get a PO for $157,000 worth of material, man, that thing is going to, somebody have to pry it out of my hand, because I want everybody to know I just nailed this big order. There's a lot of pride. It could be 5,000, it could be 10,000. It's a big deal. Those guys talk, well, pass it up the line. Well, I want credit for it. I got it. I was the one who made the phone calls and contacted this guy, and I'm the one who got the plans and got the estimating department. I put the thing in the computer. So there's a lot of ownership, but with that comes a responsibility for professionalism and understanding that everything can go south as fast as it looks good. So basically what I'm saying is, don't get stagnant in your position. Learn every day. Take stuff home. Find out when you see something that you don't understand. Find out how it works, what it is. Bug your salesman or the guy you back up to take you out one day and show you how the stuff goes in the ground. What the costs are when you've got a 13-man crew, excavators, loaders, compactors, dump trucks, backhoes, trenchers, whatever it is, vac trucks for sewage, what it costs to keep a crew going. And you'll find out that, boy, I'm going to be a little more careful when I double check this order as it goes out to make sure I have the right amount of accessories or bolts, nuts, gaskets. Those are things that will develop relationships. And the last thing I want to say is, and it's one thing that Ryan and I talked about the other day, is get to know your customers by name. When they come in, you see guys, we talked to a guy the other day and I'd forgotten his name. He'd been dealing with H.D. Fowler for 16 years. And I know him and we can sit and talk and remember when, but damned if I could remember his name, and that's a shortcoming of mine. So I went and found out his name. Now every time he comes in, I say hello to him. Guess who his dad is? I had no idea, and in 16 years I found out his father's the owner of the company he works for, Continental Dirt. I had no idea he was even related. Gee, I wonder who that guy is going to own, how long it'll take before he owns that company. He's been working in the ditch for 16 years. It won't be long.
Well, I hope that video was worth your time. I hope you took some lessons away from it. Go out there and produce some loyalty amongst our customers and have fun doing it. If you have any suggestions as to what we can offer in the future, let us know and we'll try to do that also. Thanks very much.